أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How are you guys? How's everyone going? Alhamdulillah. It's getting to a busy time, isn't it? Like especially this specific season, you've got procrastination, you've got assignments, you've got this, you've got family gatherings, you've got 1,000 things conglomerated into one very small bit of time. And in a time like this, subhanAllah, one of the brothers actually asked that we speak about this topic. And it's a topic that, to be honest, we don't speak about enough. It's not as glorified of a topic compared to other topics, but it's a topic called tawadu, which is known as humbleness, humility. And inshallah, I want to make this more of a collaborative discussion. Inshallah, we could all, chime in at our own perspectives, what we know from the Sunnah, of course. But I will start by saying that honestly, one of the most freeing, most liberating things one can ever do is humbling themselves. Because when you don't humble yourself, when you start to compare yourself to others, when you start to sort of view another person, you start to qawan yourself, you start to compare yourself to another person, you'll never be satisfied. A. B. Your heart will always never be at peace. You'll always be hungry for more. Not a nice hunger, it's a very vicious, very rapacious hunger that's very destructive to someone. You see, the most freeing thing is when you say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I am a Muslim. I don't need to put myself in this toxic environment. I don't need to compare myself to others. I don't need to look at what someone else has and say, hey, how come I don't have that thing? And now the toxic thing happens, right? It happens when someone has what you want to have, but you don't have. For example, someone might have a really nice bag. None of us probably care that much about bags to be comparing ourselves to someone else's bag. You've got a nice bag, it's got features, you can put 3 bottles in it, that's great. Like, mashallah, Anna, good job. You don't really feel that sense of, right? Maybe you do, Allah Alam, but you probably don't, right? So that's the first thing. It's about every single person has their own little things that they compare themselves with others to. For one person, it might be wealth, for instance. You might run your own business and you might say, my business is doing well. How come his business, he has less marketing, he's not even on social media, how come he's making more revenue, charging more GST? It's like, bro, we did tax together, so we just did GST. Charging more GST, doing all that stuff. How? I've got better marketing, I've got a better team, and this person who's doing nothing, people are going to him and his product is horrible as well. That language is waswasa from the shaitan, where you start to compare yourself to someone else. I'll tell you another big problem that happens when you're in a position of leadership and you have responsibility, and now people are looking to you for guidance, and someone steps in and tries to compare themselves to you or tries to act like they're as good as you. What happens next? Waswasa comes in, right? Because now you're thinking, I'm in this position of leadership, who are you to come in and try and act like you can do my job? That's shaitan coming in, telling you, making yourself compare yourself to others. It's very toxic. And it can cause people, even those who are very senior in high leadership positions, to start worrying. This person's younger than me, but they could take my position one day. It's like someone who has a lot of money. I've got a lot of money, but someone might steal it. It might get, it might go away, taxes. You start to get worried. You see, the disease of pride will never allow someone to feel even a speck of happiness. Not even a speck. Because the moment you feel prideful, and you have that in your heart, that feeling of, I'm good enough. Why is that person getting what I have? Why does that person want what I have? Why do I speak to this person and they're trying to act like they're a big shot? The moment you start thinking like that, you yourself have now fallen into a disease that anyone can fall into. It's not something that we fall into because we're younger, we don't have as much money, we're still in university. No. This disease gets worse as you get more. It's not a disease that gets better as you get older. It gets worse because now you've got more at stake. Now you've got more things you've earned, supposedly from your own hard work. Now you've got more comparison. This is where humility, tawadu comes in, where you got to realize that, wallah, we are nothing. We are absolutely nothing. And like actually realizing that. You know when you have like a very hard, for example, for those who do some exercise, very hard training session, your heart's breathing is on the floor and you just get a headache and you're going to vomit. Do you think you're something in that moment? Absolutely not. You don't feel like you're anything. In that moment, you realize how fragile you are. When you get sick, getting sick is one of the most humbling things. It's the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses to cure you. Right? So for me personally, I was fortunate enough, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, to go on that human appeal trip, if you guys heard of it. Yeah? You know the one? I went, I think, start of 2023. Most of the trip I was sick. Most of it was in hospitals. I visited the Turkey hospital. I visited the hospital in Jordan. Visited the hospital in, you know what I mean? That was most of my journey. And that was the most humbling thing ever, bro. When you're sitting there and you literally can't breathe. You don't care about how much money you have. You don't care about your status. All you're looking for is a companion beside you, someone to help you out. That's all you need. You just want someone to smile at you, just someone to, treat you decently as a human. That's all you want. You don't want anything else at all. But unfortunately, we're in a society now where our hearts have become so darkened, so filthy, that we don't smile at each other anymore. Smiling becomes a chore, it's very hard. I've got to move this cheek, move that cheek. It's a muscle, You know how many muscles are in the cheeks? Huge amount of muscles. Right, it's very difficult. And you've got to hold it as well. Come on, man, leave me alone. And you see, like, we were having a chat outside because I think there was dawah dinners today, yeah? With the brothers. And there were two brothers who they're studying medicine, mashallah, first year. And they were talking about how what they're learning in uni, at the university is how to be empathetic, like with their client, with their patients. They get taught, for example, when someone's hurt, say, what's the phrasing? It's not, I feel sorry for you, but I'm sorry to hear that. You get what I mean? They get taught how to be a nice person. Like they actually got conditional programming. Like when you see someone that's like saying, ow, say, I'm sorry to hear that. And then just continue the conversation. Like we're literally at a point where people are programmed and taught how to talk. Because we don't have the ability, we don't have the heart. We've lost the purity, the softness, the kindness of the heart. And wallah, it's so easy. Bro. It is so easy to lose that purity of the heart. And like, and you know what it starts off with? It starts off with not being grateful for what you have. Not being grateful for what you have. And it can happen to even the most pious, righteous people. Why? Because the waswasa doesn't run away when you're a pious person. It comes at you stronger because you're a bigger enemy to the shaitan. You're the biggest enemy, right? When you're doing all the haram stuff, you don't get much because you're already sucked in. But when you're trying to do the good stuff, that's when you're going to get the waswasa. When you're walking around university and you're like, do I lower my gaze? No one's watching you. You're in the middle of some random campus center. You know what I mean? Are you gonna action it, or are you gonna take some sneak peeks because whatever? It's not a big deal. When you're in class with someone and they're talking to you, right? Opposite gender, for example, it happens, right? And you're having that conversation. Are you able to effectively set boundaries, or are you someone that's a bit wishy-washy? You don't really know how to do that. You just go with the flow and you're fine. You go, yeah, we're gonna grab lunch. Yeah, I'll come and I'll make a halal sit on the other side. Who are you? Like, where are your boundaries? Where is your sharaf? Where's your honor? We're in a society where we've lost that. And again, just bringing that back to the topic of tawadu, which is humility, right? Bringing it back to the key idea. It's so hard to not compare yourself to others. It's so hard. Like, you think you're not doing it until you realize you're doing it. It's not as simple as maybe you're at a level where you don't care about someone's nice car and you're past that. But then now you're on LinkedIn and you're like, let's say you're 22 years old or you're 19 or 18, whatever, yeah? And you're like, there's another 18-year-old person who's doing 5 times more than me at my age. And then now you start to think, man, maybe you're doing unpaid work. You're doing, let's say, engineering or law or something, and you're not getting paid. You know someone else who's getting paid full-time work. Maybe you know what I mean? Like these small little things, and you start to compare, and it starts to become a disease. And then you start to ask people, oh, what are you up to? What are you doing nowadays? And you're not asking them because you care about them. You're asking them because you're trying to see and level yourself out and see where you're at compared to them. And do you see how problematic that is? And so what I personally believe is when someone starts speaking to you with that rhetoric, don't play with their game. Shut it down. When someone starts asking you, what do you do? Oh, where are you currently at? And you can see in their eyes, you can look in the eyes, you can see how someone is. Well, you can tell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts that feeling where you talk to someone, you're like, this person's sincere, this person's just sussing me out, I don't feel comfortable. My heart's not comfortable. Don't answer their question. Don't play their game. Do you get what I mean? Maybe you're doing, let's say, engineering. Someone's a senior engineer. Let's say he's top, he works with, I don't know, one of the higher companies, right? And then he asks you, what do you do? And you say you're a student. He's like, oh, you're a student. Oh, I remember back in my days, when I was younger and naive like you. And they start talking to you and belittling you. That's what happens. You've now played a game and you've put yourself under someone. Instead of having conversations with people about where you're at in life, we should start having conversations with people about where we're at with the deen, how our hearts feel, how's our families. We don't talk about that anymore. It's more, how's your progress? You make bank, you make money, what are you doing? Oh yeah, how long do you have of uni? The conversations are just dead. They're literally dead. Like you know what I mean? It's just dead. And you speak to every single person and you have the exact same conversation. No wonder our hearts are dead, because we don't have enlivening, beautiful conversations anymore. No one's actually connecting. Everyone's comparing. You tell someone something good about yourself, they don't even say mashallah. It's like, oh yeah, but what about that? And they start to try and put what you say and make it seem lower than it is. You say, I'm starting an initiative. I opened an Instagram account. I'm now doing this thing for the community. Yeah, but other people do it as well. It's not a big deal. Trying to put you down for what you do. For example, oh, I do some mentoring. Yeah, but I don't think it's legit. Do you have qualifications? You shouldn't talk to people like this, because these people are literally draining you. And when you play their game, you're now going to become a jealous person, because you've now they've got the string and they pulled you in, and now they've got you on a leash and your neck is now tied to their narrative. And the way to stay humble, and there's actually some strategies, inshallah. And I want to keep this halaqah short, sharp, simple, but there's some strategies to overcome this. Number one, you need to understand. You need to understand when someone is trying to pull you in the pride game. Once you understand that someone's trying to pull you in the pride game, then you're able to create the tools and the defenses to protect yourself. But if you don't know you're being sucked into this, you're now a victim to their manipulation. And then you're going to become someone that's now a hasud. You're not going to say mashallah. You're going to start giving people evil eye. And evil eye, by the way, is a thing. There are some people who say evil eye is not a thing. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says al-ainu haqq, right? It is a thing. It does exist. And you do need to read Ayatul Kursi to protect yourself, right? It does exist. And when you see someone trying to pull you in that pride game, A, recognize it. B, set your boundaries. Don't play their game. They ask you questions. Twist the conversation in a way so that you're talking about meaningful things. Show them who you are as a person. Someone asks you, yeah, man, how's your money making going? Or, where you at in life? Alhamdulillah, doing quite well. Alhamdulillah, focusing on family. How's your family relationship going? How's your heart feeling? How's everything going? You've now shut them down and you're like, I'm not going to have this conversation. You're going to have my conversation. Do you want to join? Welcome. You don't? Assalamu alaikum. You've now set a boundary, shut them down, and you've maintained your integrity, maintained your dignity, and you've stayed humble. That is how, right? That's how you ensure that no one can pull you into this disease. Because the leash is there and it's very easy to grab you. Number 3, whenever you talk about yourself, you need to always say alhamdulillah. You need to say anything that you've done, it's all from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me this ability to be able to do X. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have chosen not to give it to me. I am nothing. You need to get used to speaking like this. A lot of people say it's because of my hard work that I've achieved blah, 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 blah. The moment you start to speak, because it's my hard work, is the moment you have now lost your humility. Because now you start to attribute your hard work to the outcome that you've achieved. But there are many people in this dunya that work harder than you, they spend more time than you, and they don't have what you have. This is a very critical point. There are people who work harder, they do more than you, and they don't have what you have. So you don't have what you have because of your hard work. That is a complete myth. There are some people who exercise more than you, and they don't get what you have because of a disability, because their body doesn't allow it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give them that capacity. You don't have what you have because you earned it. You have what you have because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted you it. And this gift can go away or it can remain, and it's your choice. So when you speak to people and you tell them about your achievements and you let them know about what you've done, what you need to do is you need to make it very clear that it's not from me, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When someone's complimenting you, you respond with the dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make me better than that which you say of me. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me for that which you do not know of me. You don't say, yeah, thanks cuz, all cause of me. I'm a beast, I know. You don't respond with that rhetoric because you're not. Right? And this is the key. You look at Khabib, right? Everyone knows him, that's why I'm using an example. Do you ever see him put his head up and say, I'm the best, look at me, I work hard? He says, in Dagestan, there are people that all work hard. You train, you sleep, That's it. You don't want to train, you go home. It's very simple life. It's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. He doesn't overly think. You notice when he's speaking to opposite gender, does he look at them in the eyes with lust and vigor and passion? No, he puts his head down. Alhamdulillah. And he says what he wants to say. Did the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to talk a lot or minimally? Minimally. But was it eloquent and concise? It was eloquent and concise. A lot of us, you've heard the term wafflers. They waffle, right? They're good talkers, salespeople. They get on the phone for 25 minutes, talk, but there's no substance. You want to be someone, you say a few words, and you've got that person thinking for the rest of the night. You've got that person reflecting for the rest of the week. Because you're not speaking from you, you're speaking from the sunnah. And the sunnah is wisdom. You see? So when you start to live your life in accordance with the sunnah, and you start to speak from how the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to speak, you become one with wisdom. Because you've got generations, you've got years, you've got decades, from Adam alayhi salam all the way until now. You've got divine revelation helping you talk. You're not just talking by yourself anymore. You're not waffling. You're now actually speaking to the heart. There are dimensions of speech. The first dimension I mentioned at the start of the halaqah was, how's your uni progress going? Oh, you got any plans for the future? What are you doing for the weekend? That's just the mind, right? And then when you start asking, how's your heart? How's your family? What's your goals for the ummah? You're speaking from the heart. Then when you connect with someone, you smile, you treat them well, you're connecting to the soul. And we need to start connecting more to the soul. Because unfortunately, we don't, as much as we say we do, we don't trust each other. Right? We really don't. Back in the time of the Sahaba, when they were in the marketplace, right, and they were trading and they were selling, and the time for Jummah prayer used to come, right? Let's say they had money, they had their items, they would leave it, they'd cover it, they'd tie the camel, they'd cover it, and they'd leave and go pray, knowing that no one would touch what they have, because there was trust in the community. Everyone knew each other. Now you're constantly thinking, where's everything at? You don't have trust for no one. And even the advice we get from parents and family is, even if you're close with someone, don't tell them too much. They might backstab you, right? We don't trust each other. And the way we overcome that is we need to become more humble. And remember, when you're speaking to people and when you're talking, feel your heart. Think about your heart. Think about, how does your heart feel? Is my heart uncomfortable right now? What about this person is making me feel uncomfortable? Why do I feel uncomfortable? Start to think. Why? Well, question your heart, interrogate. Actually reflect on your heart, and you'll realize that yes, this person's nice, but I feel uncomfortable because I'm not connecting with them for the sake of Allah. That's the reason why. I don't feel like this conversation is meaningful because we're not speaking for the sake of Allah. We're speaking for the sake of speaking. Now I know why I'm not comfortable with this person. And the moment you become someone that speaks and connects and is humble. And again, it's hard. It's hard. And it's something that we're all going to work on for the rest of our lives. But the moment you make the effort to try and become humble, a humble servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the moment that inshallah we can all connect and we can revive our hearts. Wa jazakumullahu khairan.